Let me ask you something. If someone prays for patience, do you think God gives them patience? Or does he give them the opportunity to be patient? If they prayed for courage, does God give them courage, or does he give them opportunity to be courageous? If someone prayed for the family to be closer, do you think God zaps them with warm, fuzzy feelings? Or does he give them opportunities to love each other? Well, I gotta run. A lot of people to serve.
You should be convinced in your heart that you're doing the best you can with what you've been given. And hopefully that'll make you less anxious and it'll make you more hopeful. But, you should have the same kind of regard for yourself that you have for someone that you love. Yeah. That's what love should do. Like if you love someone, if it's genuine love, you see their hidden soul. That's a good way of thinking about it. You get a glimpse of the light that they could reveal to the world if they revealed it. That's what you see. And then to act in love is to encourage that to come forward and to discourage anything that gets in its way. I will do good no matter what. No matter what happens to me. I will do good no matter what happens to me. It's absolute rejection of the idea of being a victim. No matter how much suffering comes my way, no matter how much undeserved suffering comes my way, undeserved and unjust, let's say, in spite of my innocence, I will not lose faith and I will do good. Nietzsche. Two things happen when you're aimless. First is you get anxious. And the reason you get anxious is because anxiety computes aimlessness. If you drop someone in the middle of a desert, the reason they're anxious is because it's not because they don't know which way to go. It's because there are way too many places to go. And that's aimlessness. Is like every direction beckons. And your brain literally signals that with anxiety. If you don't have a goal, you have no positive emotion. You can have what you want in 5 years, but there's two conditions. You have to know what it is, and you have to aim at it. When you're 25, you could be an idiot. It's no problem. That's what young people are like, but they're full of potential. Okay, well now you're the same person at 30. People aren't so thrilled about you at that point. Like, what the hell have you been doing for the last 10 years? Well, I'm just as clueless as I was when I was 22. Yeah, but you're not 22. You're an old infant, and that's an ugly thing. So part of the reason you choose your damn sacrifice, because the sacrifice is inevitable, but at least you get to choose it. One way to increase the probability that things will unfold for you properly is to not lie. Just stop lying. Period. Stop saying things you believe to be untrue. Stop doing things you know to be wrong. Just start with that. You'll get closer and closer to the truth, and the truth is the adventure of life. That's the advantage to the truth. You have the world on your side. But obviously, because if you're lying about things, you're opposing reality. Who are you? Who are you to oppose reality? Good luck. There is nothing more practical than developing a vision. It's not some pie in the sky exercise. Without a vision, you're chaotic and fragmented and hopeless and disappointed, and someone can stop you just by putting up a single obstacle. You're a house divided amongst itself. You have no forward movement. You're not enthusiastic, and that's to be filled with the Spirit of God, by the way. And your life is a sequence of disappointments and frustrations and tragedies, and you're a leaf blowing in the wind. And that is not what you're called to be. That's not what you're called to be. You're called to be a visionary constructor of the paradisal vision. Really, that's who you are. Terrible as that is to apprehend. We already will lose everything we have to lose.
Yeah.
Right, we're all in this game, man. So there's, whether you want it to be this way or not, you are betting everything on your life. No matter how bad your situation is, I'm not going to pretend it's okay. It's not okay. It's tragic, tainted with malevolence. And some people really get hurt by malevolent people, like, terribly hurt. Sometimes they never recover. It's really awful. But there's more to you than you think. And if you stand up and face it with a positive, with a noble vision, with discipline and intent, you can go far farther to overcoming it than you can imagine. And that's the principle upon which you should predicate your behavior. Your brain brings up the past because you have not specified the proper road forward. You go back into the road you took that was the wrong road, you find out what the right road was, now you've atoned, you've confessed, you've repented, and you have specified the proper pathway forward. And that's what you do when you negotiate a solution to a problem with your wife too. Here's what we're doing, here's the problem, here's what we did wrong, here's what we'll try to do in the future.
And if that new future map works, that past trauma will be rendered irrelevant.
Imagine that if you were to go a mile or less, you would walk it, and if you were to go more than a mile, you would drive it. Paradoxically, you would go 2 miles quicker than you would go 1 mile. So for instance, the friend that should leave his job, but it's just about passable, his boss isn't that much of a dick. The person that stays in an apartment that's got some mold on the ceiling, but it's not too much mold. And all of these people would be better off if their situations were worse, because it would galvanize them into actually doing something. If things are good, great, no problem. If things are bad, great, activation energy to go and make them good. If things are just about passable, you end up being comfortably numb. So that means that sometimes worse situations can be better than better situations. This idea called the region beta paradox.
There's basically 3 things that you should stop doing immediately if you want to be happier. Number 1, you have to stop regretting the past. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't forget the past. You can learn from it and get better from it so you don't make the same mistakes, but you got to stop regretting the past. Number 2 is stop worrying about the future. Psychologists have found that 85% of what you worry about on a daily basis will never happen. That's a waste of your energy. That's a waste of your time. And then number 3, stop looking for your happiness in other people. Other people cannot make you happy. It is absolutely impossible. Happiness is 100% an inside job.
Often when people are embittered and resentful and feel like they're victims, it's because really awful things have happened to them. Now, not always, but often. And so then the question is, well, if you're in a situation and something really awful is happened to you or has happened to you, then, well, why shouldn't you feel like a victim? And is there a better alternative? Thousands have come before you and they did just fine. So quit your complaining. And it's not because you have nothing to complain about. That's not the case. It's that that's not the right approach. The fact is, and this is such an optimistic fact, as well as a judgment in some sense, the fact is that if someone else can do it, so can you. And that's something, right? If you're reading about the great heroes in history, people who are in these terrible situations, and you see someone rise to the occasion, and then you can say, well, that was a person who did that, and I'm a person, and so maybe I have that capacity too, even though I don't know how to approach it.
I will say this, from my perspective, when people ask me all the time, I lack discipline, how can I get discipline in my life? And no one wants to hear this answer. First steps you can take to impose discipline in your life is to wake up early in the morning.
Standing there, lost, and not doing anything is just waiting to die, waiting to starve to death. Don't let that happen. Your excuses will destroy you and take everything that you ever wanted from you if you let them. When your excuses make you feel a little bit better about the fact that you didn't execute on what you needed to execute on, then they can make you feel better, but they're not helping you. If you want freedom in your life, you have to have discipline.